Welcome everyone, my name is Rigel and today we're going to take a look at what we know so far about Junior Eurovision 2023 as of late October of 2023, which means we are less than a month away from the contest itself. Now, before we get into the video, there's a few things I want to address. Yes, there are some other videos that are supposed to be coming out, like the Eurovision 2023 review part 4 and also my Georgia what went wrong video, but frankly I've just not been super motivated to do those videos, so maybe they'll come out at some point, maybe not, I don't really know. If the Georgia one doesn't come out, then maybe I'll like write up a blog post for it. I certainly can do that, but maybe not record a video, because another thing I want to talk about is my current situation, which is that I am kind of a little bit sick. I don't know if it's a cold, I don't know if it's a flu, but my voice doesn't sound great, my nose is stuffy the whole time. So yeah, if I don't sound great, that's probably one of the reasons. And another reason is that I currently have my fan on right now, my electric fan, because it is seriously hot out here. It is like 25°C, and it's late October, which is absolutely insane. So yeah, with that said, that's where I'm currently at right now, but what we're currently at with the contest, we're going to explore in this video. Now, as usual, I'm going to be reading off of the Wikipedia page. You can definitely find more details on my blog post, although I haven't updated it in a few days. I'll get to doing that, I promise. But here's like the basic information, the like 100% factual stuff, plus some comments that I'm going to be making. So here we go. First off, we have the logo / slogan, that's Heroes. The art has been criticized by fans as being low effort. I think in one of the videos, some people literally found the exact green screen effect that they were using for kind of the intro VFX and such. So yeah, in general, we can probably say that the visuals aren't amazing for this edition. So yeah, the contest itself is set to take place on the 26th of November, which, like I mentioned earlier, is less than a month away now, and it will take place at the Palais Nicaea in Nice in France, because of course France won last year. Now, I'm just going to briefly talk about this, but traditionally it's not actually that common for the winning country to host the next contests. That's why we've had countries like Malta and Bulgaria host Junior Eurovision, and I think even Romania one year. But in general, in more recent years, it has been the case that the winning country does host, but that's a relatively recent phenomenon. It only started, I would say, around 2018, 2019, and they are continuing that tradition this year with France, who won last year and is going to host this year. Now, we also have the presenters now. The first one is Olivier Min, who you might recognize because he was quite literally the English-speaking host in 2021, and he's coming back for that gig. The second host we have is Lohi Dilman. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm still not sure. Who is an actress, a presenter, who has worked on quite a few gigs for France Télévisions lately. And we also have a third one, which is Ofenya. Now, I think I already talked about this in a previous video, but basically Ofenya is a TikTok influencer from France who has, I think, around 5 or 6 million followers, and basically officially speaking, she's going to be the quote-unquote digital ambassador for Junior Eurovision 2023. But I've also seen reports saying that she's going to be the green room host, basically. So she's going to be like fulfilling Carla's role, that in 2021, basically like talking to the singers from the different countries, in addition to, of course, promoting the contest on TikTok or whatever. So yeah, those are free presenters basically. And let's move on to the countries. We will have 16 countries, which is the exact same number as last year, mind you. However, this year we are having 2 countries withdraw and 2 countries either return or debut. In this case, the debutant is Estonia. Estonia is the last Baltic country to debut at the contest, with I believe Lithuania and Latvia having debuted around 2014 or so, but since then they haven't really taken part in the contest. But Estonia has finally taken a step to take part in Junior Eurovision, which is nice to see. We'll get to their entry later. Another country that's going to take part but didn't take part last year is Germany. Now, the reason they didn't take part last year is basically because of travel restrictions, apparently, in addition to what they call a creative break. And right now they're apparently one of the favorites, so I guess that must have worked for them. However, with 2 countries taking part that didn't take part last year, we also have 2 countries that took part last year but will not take part this year. Those 2 countries are Kazakhstan and Serbia. Now, with Serbia, it's a bit easier to explain. Basically, it's just low interest. Not a lot of people are really watching the show, so RTS is basically kind of making a loss by broadcasting the show even. So yeah, I read somewhere that last year they only got like 12 submissions for the casting for Junior Eurovision, which for a country as big as Serbia is insane. 12 submissions. That's absolutely tiny. So yeah, it's clear that in Serbia there isn't really the appetite for Junior Eurovision. So in a way it makes sense, but in another way, also the more the merrier. So it is unfortunate to see them pull out of the contest, but economically it makes sense. But with Kazakhstan, it's a little bit more complicated. Now, the more cynical people might say that Kazakhstan just withdrew because for the first time ever they got a terrible result by sending their ballots again. But in reality, I think there's also a kind of element of self-reflection, I suppose. Just kind of reevaluating what went wrong, what they sent, for example. Maybe they should stop sending ballots or such. But there is proof that they are still interested in the contest. They aren't just like gone for good. A statement that was later released by the Kazakh broadcaster said that they are still aiming to broadcast Junior Eurovision 2023 and hope to return in 2024. So yeah, they're not totally gone. I think this year they're just taking a kind of break to kind of reevaluate their strategy to the contest now that sending ballots doesn't work anymore. So yeah, I would say they're definitely not gone for good. But another thing to mention, of course, is that their participation is pretty much reliant on the goodwill of the EBU to keep them going. So rather like Australia, now that the contract is over. But we'll get to that in some other video. For now, let's move on to the countries that will take part in Junior Eurovision 2023, starting with Albania. With Albania, they will be represented by the singer Viola Gjuzeli with the song Bota Ime, which in Albanian means My World. And this was selected at the National Final Junior Fest, which took place at the Albanian Pyramid or whatever it's called. It was a pyramid type thing where the singers were like singing in open air. Later on, they did kind of release a studio cut for the song as well as a music video, and basically it's a kind of ballad, I think. And I'm just going to say this outright. I haven't listened to a lot of the entries yet because, as far as I'm concerned, there aren't any like amazing wow blow me away entries. But rest assured, I will get to them, and If you follow me on Twitter, you will eventually see the Twitter thread that I do reacting to most of the entries, because I've done a few, but not all of them. After that, we have Armenia. Now, there was some concern over whether Armenia would even participate at all. But in the end, they pulled through, and we will see Armenia in Nice. Now, initially, and I think in my previous video, I talked about Sati Sargsyan, or Sargsyan, whatever. I talked about her being possibly the representative for Armenia, but obviously that you can see on the screen here that didn't really happen. Instead, according to some rumors that I've seen on Twitter, she might be representing Armenia in the Our Generation song contest that's hosted by Russia as a kind of middle finger to Junior Eurovision and to the EBU. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. I think Armenia is going to take part still, because the relationship between Armenia and Russia is rather complicated at the moment, or really it has always been complicated. So yeah, no Sati Sargsyan. Instead, Armenia will be represented by Yan Girls, which, as others have pointed out, is actually a surprisingly clever name. Because Yan is, as you probably know, the kind of family suffix or patronymical suffix, or whatever it's called in Armenian. Basically, if you are Armenian and you haven't been Sovietized or anything, then most likely your surname will end in Yan. Even Armenians in the US, like Kim Kardashian or Serge Tankian, for example, all of these have Yan or IAN or YAN or whatever in their surnames. So yeah, that's in reference to that. But also, Yan obviously also kind of, well, depending on who you ask, kind of sounds similar to young, of course. So this is just another phrase for young girls. So yeah, that's actually a surprisingly clever name. In any case, they will be singing the song "Do It My Way," which is, as you can see here, co-written and produced by Tokyo 9, who also produced Malena's entry for Junior Eurovision 2020 and 2021. And speaking of Malena, she's also there as well. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, she's actually the one that's responsible for the lyrics, or especially the English lyrics, was mostly done by Malena, as far as I'm concerned. And basically, "Do It My Way," as I understand it, is a kind of K-pop song. People described Dance last year from Armenia as well as a kind of semi K-pop song. Well, then people described this as much more K-poppy, and even the camera angles and everything kind of resembled how music videos for K-pop songs would be shot. So I haven't listened to it again, but that's what I've been told, is that the song sounds very K-poppy, if you will. With that said, let's move on to Estonia, where their first ever participant in Junior Eurovision will be Arhana, whose full name is Arhana Sandra Arma, and she'll be singing the song Hoyame Koku, which I think in Estonian means all together or us together or something like that, and it will be mostly in Estonian and also a little bit in English, and these are the songwriters and producers. So yeah, so ballad, I think. Again, I haven't listened to most of the entries, but I've been told that this year is very ballady heavy. So yeah, with that said, let's move on to France, who is being represented by Zoe Clozieux with the song "Cœur," which means heart in French. It's a kind of again poppy song, I guess. electro pop, maybe, I'm not really sure, dance pop, something like that. And for a change, they're not actually having Barbara Pravi write their entry, so that's a refreshing change of pace, I suppose. But some people are thinking this could win. This is one of the few entries I have listened to, and I don't think I would agree, although they will stage the crap out of the song, and that would get them in favor with the jury. And frankly, I don't know if France wants to win 2 years in a row, but we'll have to see what happens. With that said, let's move on to Georgia, who are being represented by, and I quote, Anastasia and Ranina, which is kind of hilarious because in this case, Anastasia refers to Anastasia Vasadze, who was the winner of Ranina 2023. Ranina being the name of their Junior Eurovision National Final. And who are Ranina then? Well, it's two boys from Ranina 2022 who were finalists but did not win the national final. This came as kind of a surprise to everyone because Anastasia had won the national final, and so everyone expected her to be like the sole representative of Georgia. But then a couple of weeks later, they announced that these two boys would be joining Anastasia, and then a couple of weeks later, they would announce that the two boys will be referred to as Ranina. So make of that what you will. But they will be singing the song Over the Sky, which is once again another ballad. However, it does feature a traditional type of Georgian singing. I can't remember the exact name of it, but it's the same kind of vocal technique that was used in it's the same vocal technique used by Georgia 2018. You might remember ethno jazz band Uriel. It's basically the same kind of vocal technique from what I understand. And a lot of the song is in Georgian, but as the title suggests, there's also a bit of English in there. And these are the songwriters and producers. Now on to Germany. I normally wouldn't really raise my tone for Germany, but this year they're kind of a little bit of a favorite, and it's getting kind of surprising for that. Now, anyways, they are being represented by Fia, who actually won a kind of online national final. Basically, the German broadcaster put up like short 1-minute clips of 5 contestants singing part of their songs, and one of those was Fia with the song Ohne Worte, which translates to without words. And basically what makes this unique from otherwise a relatively bland beat in the background, what makes this really unique, I think, is the usage of German sign language, I believe. I don't know if it's German sign language, but she was using sign language when she performed, and I believe there was also sign language in the music video as well. So yeah, a lot of people are subsequently really liking this, and some people think this could even win the contest. So, okay, you can see here, it's in American Sign Language, which is interesting. So, there is some sign language in Ohne Worte, but the song itself is mainly in German. So, it's a very interesting entry this year from Germany. Really well put together song, a really nice concept, and it's not something we've really seen before in junior or adult, I think, the use of sign language. And also I saw a clip on, I think someone posted on Instagram, but it was basically some kind of dance break thing. Well, good luck with that, but there might be a dance break in the performance of Ohne Worte. We'll have to see what happens there. That said, let's move on to Ireland, who are being represented by Jessica McKean with the song Aisling, or whatever how you pronounce it. It's a word in Irish. I don't know how you pronounce it. But Jessica McKean was basically selected through the national final Junior Eurovision era, I believe, which I've been told was extremely unbalanced in terms of gender, and we'll get back to gender imbalance later. But there were other favorites in Junior Eurovision era, but eventually Jessica McKean emerged victorious, and so she will be representing Ireland in Eurovision, Junior Eurovision 2023. Now, these are the songwriters. You'll notice there we have Sophie Lennon, who represented Ireland in Junior Eurovision last year, and in fact, she also appeared in the music video alongside Jessica. So, she might even appear in Nice one way or another, because there's actually a high note, I believe, in Aisling that is being performed by Sophie. So she might even be on stage. So we'll have to see what happens. But it's good to see that former participants for Ireland are still willing to get involved with the production of their songs. As to the genre of the song itself, it's another ballad. However, from what I understand, it sounds a lot more kind of traditional, a lot more Ireland sounding, if that makes sense. So that's another song that a lot of the fans on Twitter are really liking right now. So with that said, let's move on to Italy, who are being represented by Melissa and Rania, with their song being Un Mondo Giusto. Now, Melissa was actually the winner, I believe, of the Voice Kids Italy, while Rania isn't actually Italian. She's, I believe, Moroccan, but she was also in the final of the Voice Kids Italy that took place earlier this year. So initially people thought that maybe just Melissa would be internally selected, but they decided to select two of the singers together. Now, the song Un Mondo Giusto is, I believe, another ballad, and the title translates to A Just World, and the song is mostly in Italian, but there's also English bits. So not a lot of people are talking about this, so I wouldn't really take this as a favorite for victory. So that's Italy for Junior Eurovision 2023. I also forgot to mention that for the first time ever, we will have the entire Big Five in Junior Eurovision, which is a great thing to see. With that said, let's move on to Malta, who are being represented by Yulin with the song Stronger. Now, Yulin was selected via the national final MJESC, or Malta Junior Eurovision Song Contest. Basically, Yulin had been trying to win this national final for several years now, 3 or 4 years now, and for once she actually succeeded. So Yulin, also known as Yulin Law, will be representing Malta with the song Stronger. Now, she did not actually have a song at the time of winning the national final. Basically, what happened was that the winner was decided, and then they opened the submission period for anyone to send songs in. Now, Stronger might sound like a very old, outdated Melfest reject, and well, look at the songwriters: Swedish name, Swedish name, Swedish name, Swedish name, and Yulin Law. So from what I understand, this is a very much Swedish ballad, but I haven't listened to it. Some people like it, but for the most part, people just aren't talking about this. So we'll have to see what happens. But Yulin will be singing the song Stronger in Nice, representing Malta. With that said, let's move on to the Netherlands, who are being represented by Sepp and Jasmijn, who are singing the song Holding On To You, which is a kind of EDM song. It's been called outdated by some people, and I think that's perfectly fine. It sounds like something that would come out of 2014 or 2015, but nonetheless, it is a kind of EDM song. Now, of course, as an EDM song, you would expect lots of dancers, and that's exactly what they have. They had, I believe, two male dancers and two female dancers, which makes sense. Now, they actually won the ticket to represent the Netherlands through the National Final Junior Song Festival, which is one of the earliest national finals of the entire junior season, if that's even a thing. And in fact, right after this year's Junior Song Festival ended, they already opened submissions for 2024's Junior Song Festival. So you can see clearly that the Netherlands is very much dedicated to the cause. So yeah, as usual, their song is being written by Robert Dorn, who had also written their entry last year, La Festa, and I believe some other Dutch entries as well. So yeah, Sepp and Jasmine actually won the Junior Song Festival kind of resoundingly. There were like three juries, basically a kids jury, an adult jury, and basically a televote, and they got 12 points from all three groups. So yeah, it was a pretty resounding victory for them. So they will be representing the Netherlands in Junior Eurovision 2023. With that said, let's move on to North Macedonia, who are being represented by Tamara Gruevska. Now, I think I mentioned in the previous episode that I don't really know whether it's Gruevska or Gruevska, with a V before the S. And I think the answer is Gruevska, even though it's technically wrong, because, like I mentioned, her dad is Gruevski with a V, but a lot of places, including the official Junior Eurovision website, refer to her as Gruevska, so I guess somewhere along the line she just dropped the V for some reason. So yeah, I guess that's what we're referring to her as now. Anyways, she was actually selected really early. In fact, she was the first representative to be announced for Junior Eurovision 2023, although her song was released much later, and in fact, it was released this month. And the song will be Gajimi Gajimi Goi, which I believe in Macedonian means tell me why, or tell me who, or something like that. And as the title suggests, it's mostly in Macedonian, but there are also bits in English. You can see that it is mostly being written by Robert Bibilov, who also wrote a number of other Macedonian entries, including, I believe, Proud, that is Adult Eurovision 2019 for Macedonia. And just yesterday, I believe, or maybe the day before yesterday, we got the news that the staging director for North Macedonia is going to be the same person who staged North Macedonia 2018 and 2019, I believe. So a lot of fans have said that basically Tamara is in good hands. I don't know what that means because I haven't seen 2019 or whatever. So yeah, basically that's something that might interest you, just in case. So with that said, let's move on to Poland, who are being represented by Maja Krzyzewska. That surname is a little bit of a tongue twister for non-Slavic language speakers, but Poland is being represented by Maja Krzyzewska, who is singing the song I Just Need a Friend. Now, she was selected through the national final Szansa na Sukces, which was very briefly in 2020 used as the national final for Adult Eurovision, but normally it is normally the Junior Eurovision national final, as we saw in 2021 and 2022. And this year, they returned to the classic orange stage with the lyrics going on behind the singer. And this year, the one who was victorious was Maja. And the song, as you might expect is in English and also Polish. A bit later, I think a few weeks later, they also released a music video for the song as well as a slight revamp for it, as they tend to do. And yeah, that's about it. Not really a lot of people are talking about this. I think it's kind of another ballad, actually. I also forgot to mention that the Macedonian entry is also a ballad, but it's actually apparently a Balkan ballad. So if you're into that kind of stuff, you might want to check this out. So back to Poland, though, I think from what I remember of listening to the song, it's a kind of ballad as well, and that's kind of all I can remember about it, to be honest. And not a lot of people, I think, are really talking about this as a potential winner or anything like that. So with that said, yeah, that's about it for Poland. With that said, let's move on to Portugal. With Portugal, they're being represented by Julia Machado with the song Where I Belong, which is both in Portuguese and in English. Now, this is interesting because Julia Machado actually basically won the ticket to represent Portugal through winning The Voice Kids Portugal, I believe. But actually, she doesn't actually live in Portugal. She lives in the United States. And so I think this song was actually part of her kind of journey, because the song talks about like anti-bullying and such. And so yeah, these are the songwriters. Julia didn't really take part in the songwriting itself, but she does say that the song is very personal to her, and basically, like I mentioned earlier, it's kind of an anti-bullying type song, and it's about where she belongs, basically. And so yeah, it's another ballad, as you might expect from songs of this kind of caliber, I guess, of this kind of storyline. But I have heard very good reviews for this, so I think that this might be one of the more likely songs to at least do well in the contest. So we have to see what happens. You might remember last year the Portuguese representative did unexpectedly well in Junior Eurovision. So maybe Portugal will do unexpectedly well in both the televote and the jury vote, and maybe it will be going to Lisbon next year. Who knows? But this has gotten very good reviews, I have to say that. All right, so with that said, let's move on to the neighbor of Portugal, that is Spain, who are being represented by Sandra Valero with the song Love You. Now, that's spelled Loviu. Most of the song is in Spanish, but there are also little bits in English and French, like random phrases in the chorus, I believe. Something like I love you, je t'aime, something like that. And I can't remember exactly, but I think it's a little bit more upbeat, but I haven't listened to it. I said on my reaction thread that I was going to listen to it like in 3 days, which was the time between then and when the song was going to come out, but I didn't really do that because truthfully, I've just been in a little bit of a rut and a little bit of a slump a little bit, but I will get to all of the songs eventually. And if you follow me on Twitter, you'll get my reactions of what I think of the songs, of my first-hand reactions, basically. So yeah, that's Sandro Valero for Love You. And interestingly, the song was released before the music video, and the music video had her and some dancers basically on some kind of classic old style microphones. So yeah, again, the song is mostly in Spanish. There's little random phrases in other languages, and these are the songwriters. With that said, let's move on to Ukraine, who are being represented by Anastasia Demid with the song Kvitka, which in Ukrainian means flower, and basically is a little kind of more upbeat song. However, my problem with it is that every time I listen to it, it just automatically turns into that Moscow song. That actually is a German song, but it's called Moscow anyway, which is kind of ironic. But anyways, it's a kind of a little bit of a bop. This won the national final People call it Junior with beer, but really it's just the national final. It doesn't really have a special name. And yeah, this was produced and written mostly by Svetlana Tarabarova, who also co-wrote a number of other songs in the national final, because this year they were not required to have their own songs. So yeah, Kvitka will be representing Ukraine at Junior Eurovision 2023, sung by Anastasia Demit. After that, we have the last country that will be taking part in Junior Eurovision 2023, and that is Stand Unique, or if you want to be really pedantic, Stand Unique Who Free, who are singing the song Back to Life, and it was written by these people, and it's basically another kind of pop song, and some people that is the head of delegation have described the Free singers, the Free girls, as a kind of baby Little Mix, so make of that what you will, but yeah, I've heard pretty good reviews of this as well, and I don't know if they're going to win, but a lot of people are liking this. So yeah, that's the United Kingdom with another pop song representing themselves, obviously, but it's basically the three in the name represents that there are three members in the group, each from different regions of, I was about to say UK, but let's face it, England. But yeah, they are singing the song Back to Life in Junior Eurovision 2023. So those are the countries. With that said, let's move on to production. You can see here it says that there is a new child safety protocol. There's a few reasons they introduced this, and basically it's actually based on the child safety protocol that was in place in the BBC for several decades now, but basically what they wanted to do is kind of safeguard the kids, and it also lays down what would happen if the kids got sick, as they did in Junior Eurovision 2022. And the other reason they wanted to make this kind of child safety protocol is because they wanted to bring back the Nordic countries to the contest, because the Nordic countries, famously actually mostly Norway and Denmark, I believe, and also to a lesser extent Finland, they've been pretty critical of how they treat kids in Junior Eurovision, and that's why Denmark and Norway haven't been in Junior since 2005, and Finland just haven't joined ever. So yeah, their kind of goal is to bring these countries, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, maybe Finland, maybe Iceland, back to the contest. So that's kind of their goal, and obviously they kind of want to protect the children as well, and make it clear that they're trying to protect the children. So yeah, with that said, that's the child safety protocol, and I think you can read it right now on the website of the EBU. And moving on to visual design, we already talked about this earlier. You can see here, this is the logo that's been kind of criticized by fans. And there's also the generic heart logo, which is apparently the first time the Eurovision heart has been used for Junior, which is very interesting. So yeah, with that said, we also have the presenters. I already talked about those. Alfania is going to be the digital ambassador. Olivier Min had been the co-host of 2021. He was the English-speaking host, and she will also, Alfania will also be on stage in Nice, basically. And we don't have a lot of the spokespersons right now, but we do have one, which is Maria Bigvava, who represented Georgia last year, of course, and basically this year she will be responsible for announcing the 12 points from the Georgian jury. So after that, we also have the broadcasts. I believe Junior was actually on BBC One last year, but now it's been moved down to BBC Two, which could be a good thing, I guess, for some people, but it does show a bit less, I guess, importance, I suppose. But yeah, The commentators are pretty much the same as last year from the ones that we do know so far, and yeah, we might also get Kazakhstan broadcasting, but I think we won't find out until pretty much the day of the contest, or maybe 1 or 2 weeks before then. So yeah, that's about it. My brain is a mess right now because like I mentioned at the beginning, I'm kind of sick, and so yeah, that's what we know about Junior Eurovision 2023, 1 month away from the contest. Be sure to check out my blog post for more details, and even though I haven't updated it in several days, so yeah, check that for more continuous updates. I believe I will do one more what we know so far video for Junior, kind of maybe 1 or 2 weeks before the contest. We'll see what happens until then, and until the next video I do, hope you enjoyed. Like this video if you did, subscribe so you don't miss my upcoming content, and I'll see you next time.